Right. Good afternoon, class. I hope you're all able to hear me. So, just waiting to view the screen, and on that note, I will begin with the class. Yeah, I can certainly see the stream. To view the screen, and on that note, I will begin. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Right. So, let me begin with the session then. Everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so I'm going to do the newspaper analysis today. As usual, most of you do know that this is a regular session of mine. So welcome everybody to Unacademy's YouTube page. This is the name of our channel, Crack All Management Exams. I'm right now streaming on two sessions simultaneously, which is one is Crack All Management Exams, the other one is Unacademy for CAT. Right. So let me begin with the session then. The regular session of mine. So welcome everybody to Unacademy's YouTube page. This is the name. Right. Sorry for the confusion because it's two channels. So thoda sa shuru mein just some teething errors. Anyway, let's now begin with it. So as usual, I'm going to take up the newspaper session today, and again, as usual, it is going to be the Hindu newspaper. But first things first, let me just take you through with some of the key highlights. Just to introduce you guys to what exactly does Unacademy stand for. Right, so we are India's largest online learning platform. So, welcome everybody. This is myself, Aritro Dasgupta. Brief profile about myself. I'm an MBA from the Indian Institute of Forest Management with specialization in the area of conservation and livelihood. I've got over a decade's work experience in the areas of teaching, training, strategy consulting, executive recruitment, and in content writing. Most of my experience has been in India, though I've also had a stint in the Middle East and been published in North America. The last 6 years or so, I have been in this coaching industry and rank holders to several top national examinations such as CAT, CLAT, DUJAT, etc. They have been my students during this period. Uh, I think एक साथ दो चैनल नहीं चलते. I don't know. There's some thing, but whatever. I hope it works well. So this is what you will get as part of the Unacademy platform. There are daily live classes. So even if you missed a live class, you can always see the recordings. There are live tests and quizzes which contain the whole syllabus and where you basically compete against the rest of the country, so you know exactly where you stand. Our course content is very well structured. Which helps you prepare for the exams, and of course you get unlimited access. Once you're on board, you get complete access to the classes. This is a list of some of our key educators. Please take a look. These are some of the names and what all they do. Right, these are some of the live classes that we conduct, and you can take in their thing. But apart from that, this is to show you how you receive notifications for the classes. This is how you receive notifications for the different batches. So two kinds of batches can be created. One is for the entire syllabus, where obviously a number of faculty are needed. So that is the one option you see on top. The other option is when you only go for a single subject, and for that a single trainer will be enough. This is something like you can see at the bottom, and I had also launched a similar batch couple of months back in the month of October. So you guys can always see the recordings for those sessions as well, in that way. Right, I'll just keep one session on this thing, otherwise it's getting Anyway, Unacademy, Cat for MBA, that is the name of the channel. I'm also going to give you very important updates today regarding some of the new batches which have been launched. So there's a schedule that works very well for you. Even if you miss a live class, you can always see the recordings. And of course, we guys are present in 16 different languages. That is a major advantage. You may interact with your educator anytime you want to get your doubts cleared, and you can also answer the live polls. So how to do that? Right hand side agar aap dekhe, you will notice that we have something of a live chat window. तो यहाँ पे आप लोग लिखिए कोई भी questions हो, कोई भी doubts comments हो, you can please write them. I will also be quizzing you guys, so if you can answer those questions, they'll be really interesting in terms of the connectivity, right? I told you about the tests and quizzes and how you receive an analysis, which also includes question wise and topic wise analysis. And at the end of the class, you also receive these PDFs which you can download and study later. Now, I took a class today morning which lasted almost 2 hours. That was for the current affairs for a couple of months back. तो उस वाले सेशन में if you guys notice उसमें बहुत सारा इंफॉर्मेशन था एंड उसमें डिटेल पीडीएफ है जो आप डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं. इसमें ऐसा कुछ नहीं है because today is the newspaper session. In a newspaper session, the newspaper itself is your PDF, so there is nothing separate to that. So next couple of slides, I'm going to provide you details of some of the new batches which have been launched. So साथ में मेरा कोड भी शेयर करूंगा. मेरा कोड है AD09. Once you make use of it, you receive a flat 10% off. So I will be sharing with you guys some of the new batches which are being formed. But कोई भी batch आप join कर रहे हो, if it is after this class, please feel free to use my code which is AD09. Right. This is the batch basically. So you this started just a couple of days back, and this has three of the star trainers in our team: Shabana, Bharat, and Ravi. Written down the code. अच्छा इसमें नहीं लिखा, but anyway it's AD09. You are already aware. यहाँ पे भी आपको मिल जाएगा YouTube में. If you come down, सुबह मैंने आपको दिखाया था. तो यहाँ देखिए आप लोग. My code will be mentioned somewhere. AD09. So once you make use of this, you will get a this discount. ठीक है. So he's Ravi. He's several times 99 percentiler in CAT. This is Bharat. He has been teaching for more than 2 decades, so vast experience. This is Shabana, who's a verbal trainer with more than a decade's experience, and she has also cracked the CAT with a 99 percentile several occasions. The previous batch which I showed you, this is for CAT. But the next one I'm going to show you is CMAT. CMAT includes GK, which is why my colleague Rushikesh, he's also a part of this. He's the GK trainer. It also includes Gurpreet and Shankar, plus also Abhishek, who's somebody I've known for quite a bit of time. So this is Rushikesh. As I said, he is a GK trainer for this thing. Gurpreet, he's cleared several exams multiple times, as you can see here. There's also Shankar, who's vastly experienced, and he will be taking your quants, while Abhishek will take care of verbal ability. So he's an alumnus from the IIM Bengaluru and the SRCC, and he's mentored several hundreds of students in the past. Okay, so these are the weekday batches which have been set up. You may take a look. So one of them is Mr. Arun Sharma. Now, Arun Sharma is one of the legends of this industry, and the good news of this batch is it only started yesterday, so you still have a lot of time. So Arun sir, one of the most experienced guys. There's also Abhilasha. There's Aparna and Rahul. So good mix of youth and experience. Mr. Sharma is a best-selling writer. He's from the IIM Bengaluru and helped lakhs of students in his career. Abhilasha, meanwhile, has got about 2 decades of experience. She is also a writer, a poetess, columnist, and an author who teaches verbal ability. There's Aparna, who's a young person, a young trainer, and she is from the MDI. She'll be taking care of LRDI. Another young trainer will be Rahul, who will be taking care of quants. He just has also cracked the CAT exam on multiple occasions. And this is the last slide in the introduction, probably the most important one, because here I am sharing with you all the payment structure. So please thoroughly go through the payment structure and let me know how does this work. ठीक है, सो डिटेल में देखिए, मेरा कोड यूज करेंगे तो लेफ्ट साइड में लिखा है द प्री डिस्काउंटेड फिगर, एंड देन once you cut 10% you get you know the final figure of 3150. ठीक है, I'm sure you guys have noticed that the longer term courses are far more beneficial financially in terms of value for money than the short term courses are. So go ahead with the more long term courses. But कुछ भी आप करेंगे, use this code AD09. So on that note, I'm going to begin with today's newspaper analysis. And as usual, I'm going to take care of the Hindu newspaper, which is always your favorite. Right. So I'm going to start with the top headline, which is as usual about the farmer protests, which have been raging in the country for about a month now, in and around Delhi. So there's the Samyukt Kisan Morcha, which has now rejected the latest government offers to resume the talks. So there was a letter which was addressed to Mr. Vivek Agarwal, who's the secretary of the agriculture, who's the joint secretary of the agriculture department, which makes him one of the top bureaucrats of the particular ministry. He's also the CEO of the PM Kisan, there's this particular yojana of the central government. There's also an interesting report on how it is the farmer unions which have basically led these agitations from Punjab, but in Haryana it is the Khaps. Khaps are basically, shall we say, clan related in a lot of the rural areas. So moving ahead, even the Chief Minister of West Bengal, Ms. Mamta Banerjee, she has spoken to the farmer unions as well. There have been some protests in West Bengal as well, but more so, she has even sent a team to Delhi to discuss with them. The likes of Derek O'Brien, Shatabdi Roy, Prasoon Banerjee, Pratima Mondol, and Mohammad Nadimul Haq. They were among those who were present and who spoke to the farmers. Right. Leaving aside these farmer protests, I now want to discuss a very important international case. Now, a couple of months back, this is something which I did discuss with you guys. That was regarding the case with Vodafone. I don't know how much you are aware, but Vodafone, which is a British company, PLC, public limited company, India was owing Vodafone certain amount of money. So there was an international case. So. When it's a company from a different country versus a different another country they are in, then it's international case courts which decide the legislation. And in this case, Vodafone won the case. India now needs to pay a couple of, I don't remember the exact figure, but India will need to pay a couple of $1 billion to the Vodafone company for that. You know, on a similar note, there's this energy giant called Cairn Energy, which is also a British company. They will also be having something similar. So India has lost a second consecutive corporate case this year. The country will now have to pay about $1.5 billion, to be precise, $1.4 billion to the Cairn Energy PLC, as I said, which is another UK based company. Now, if I take you through to the history of this particular case, in 2014, the income tax department, they sought information from the Cairn Energy about the group reorganization done in the year 2006, when there was a something of a mini merger with the Vedanta group, where part of the local shares were acquired by Vedanta. Then, in more than a year later, in March 2015, Cairn Energy received another draft assessment order from the income tax department, which cited retrospective legislation seeking 10,247 crores in taxes. Cairn, however, reacted sharply by filing a notice of dispute. Then the case moved to 2018. The pending arbitration did proceed now. The income tax department, meanwhile, start selling the KN shares to recover these tax dues. And finally, in 2018, as itself, another three-member international arbitration tribunal concluded the hearings in the tax dispute. So they took a long time to give out the final verdict. It's a 582-page report comprising a three-judge bench. One of those judges was actually from India, who was representing the Indian case. But finally, this group has awarded Cairn Energy the arbitration and the right to get 1.4 billion US dollars. Right. Moving ahead to a recent cabinet decision, the Union Cabinet had a meeting on Wednesday and they finalized that there can now be 100% foreign direct investment in the direct to home services. Now, how does FDI work? If I may explain to you briefly. So, FDI works in the way that right. So, how does FDI work basically? The system is that for each industry, a certain upper limit is fixed. So there are five slabs. 26% is the lowest, and that's hardly present now. Most sectors do not have that, except online digital news. That's one of them which recently had. But apart from that, you have 49%, 74%, 51%. 49 is just little less than half. 51 just above half. 74 is almost three-fourth, and you have 100%. So basically, the government increases or decreases the upper slab depending on the requirement. So if there is a requirement for foreign funding, we tend to increase the upper slab. Whenever there's a requirement to protect domestic investors, you tend to decrease the same. So what has happened is the cabinet. So earlier, the Ministry of Commerce had already allowed the DTH services to be ramped up to 100%. It was 49% in the past. The Ministry of Commerce had already approved to upgrade it from 49 straight to 100, jumping two slabs in between of 51 and 74. But the Minister of Information and Broadcasting, which is actually the regulator for direct to home services, they had not yet confirmed. They were as yet, I wouldn't say adamant, because they were open to this view, but they were sticking to 49%. So now this final cabinet meeting has taken place. So it will now be 100%. So when it's 100%, it means that any project can be maximum of that figure. It could be less than that, but that's pretty much the thing. So Tata Sky, for example, is a very good example of a requirement of such a thing, because Tata Sky, Sky is an international broadcaster, Tata is a domestic one. Sky could not retain 100% because obviously it needed some sort of Indian partner. But now in the future, whenever they invest, once this deal is over, they can go for 100% in this field. So all these foreign players like Sky, Fox, or Star, they can all now look at a 100% figure. Right, let's move ahead. There are a couple of stories given in short. I will discuss them in detail when I go to the interior pages, such as the DDC elections in Jammu and Kashmir, and also the Hindu group bagging some important awards. The health minister in Delhi, Shri Satyendra Jain, who's obviously from the Aam Aadmi Party, he has said that Delhi has the lowest positivity in the entire country. Yesterday alone saw more than 87,000 tests made, but less than 1,000 have tested positive for a third consecutive day. In fact, the number of deaths in the last 24 hours when the paper went to publication was a mere 18. The total positivity rate is now less than 1%. It's at 0.99%, which does indeed give credence to what Mr. Jain says. In the state of Tamil Nadu, there is also a very important, decision which has been taken regarding the traditional bull taming sport festival of Jallikattu, which is typically held around the Pongal festival. Now, some of you might remember around 5 years back, there was this major case in the Supreme Court regarding the Jallikattu, because animal rights activists, they had protested that this goes against the animal rights. So Jallikattu needs to be banned. So initially, the decision was that for about a few years, the main center you could not have Jallikattu, although you could have them in the smaller venues. Many of the supporters of Jallikattu Jallikattu did not only point to the religious tradition, that is one part. They also said that Jallikattu ensures the survival of the Indian cow species. Because apparently there was this, shall we say, conspiracy theory. Now I can't prove it, right? So in this class, I only talk of facts and figures, but I'm telling you what they believe in. So there's this belief that PETA is ultimately being funded by a lot of these Western milk based or FMCG companies which want Western milk to be popular all over India, which is the A2 variety. The A1 variety is what is usually consumed in India and what comes out from Indian cow species. Right. So this year, of course, the Tamil Nadu government has approved of the Jallikattu, but it has also confirmed that there cannot be more than so every bull tamer will need to be tested for this thing, and all these tamers, they are typically known as Manju Virattu or Vada Madu. I'm sorry if my pronunciation isn't up to scratch. So they said that all need to be, of course, tested, and there can only be a total of 300 bull tamers in the entire state. Also, there cannot be the entire capacity will be filled up to 50% only to ensure for the COVID-19 protocols to be followed. Right, let's move ahead. Right. There's this. I'm moving into some of the local pages. So there's this interesting report on because it's very cold in Delhi right now. So a lot of these farmers, they are obviously struggling in a lot of these protests. So they've started using what are called desi geysers. So these are the ones which are heated up using wood fire, basically. That allows them to take bath and keep themselves clean. Shri Arvind Kejriwal, the Chief Minister of Delhi, he also addressed the convocation of the Ambedkar University, which is one of the state government universities in Delhi. He has encouraged the AUD graduates to become entrepreneurs and job providers in the future. The Delhi police, in a very interesting move, they have also procured decibel meters. This is going to check for noise pollution, in order to. So, sound limits have also been prescribed actually. So, in an industrial area, the decibel limit can be maximum 75. Minimum is at night time, it should be 70. So, night time is 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. The rest of the time is categorized legally as daytime. In a commercial area, it stands at 65 at daytime, 55 at nighttime. Residential is 55, 45. There are some silent zones as well, which are next to hospitals, crematoriums. So this lands at between 50 to 40. So these are a couple of things that they will be going for. By the way, I think you guys might be aware that flights to and fro the United Kingdom have been suspended till the end of this year. The UK has shown another strain of the virus, which is some believe around 70% more harmful. Although, let's wait, it may not be that deadly because Pfizer does say that it will take maybe another 6 weeks to rectify that problem as well. So, 11 people from UK flights they have tested positive. This is something maybe worrisome. There are some reports which also suggest that maybe this virus had entered India back in September itself, and maybe we could not react back then. I had told you earlier about something really important, which is about the RRTS. I don't know how much you remember, but that is the it's a combination of roads. So it's a regional rapid transit system. So there are three RRTs plans from Delhi. One of them is towards I think Panipat in Haryana, and the other two are in Uttar Pradesh. That is the plan. So one of them is towards Panipat in Haryana. The other is also in via Haryana. It reaches Rajasthan in Alwar via Gurugram and Sohna. The third one is for Uttar Pradesh, which goes up to Ghaziabad and then towards Meerut. Unlike, let's say, metro, which stops at multiple points, and RRTS is only meant for the major to and fro points with only 2 or 3 points in between those. So this is going to reduce travel time in the Delhi NCR region by a significant portion. तो इसका construction start हो गया है काफी aggressively. So DDA, the Delhi Development Authority, has even provided some exemptions to the RRTS to ensure that they can comply with their construction fairly quickly. And the Sarai Kale Khan will be station is one of the key points in between connecting a couple of these points. तो उसमें the construction pace has actually quickened. This is for the Delhi Meerut circuit. This is expected to be the first to be released. The Delhi High Court has actually asked the various health authorities to prepare a standard operating procedure (SOP) for post-COVID complications. What we've been seeing over time is that a lot of people, even after they recover from COVID-19, they some of the problems tend to linger on for a while. So how do they overcome these problems? So a couple of these SOPs need to be framed for that purpose as well. Right. Continuing on this, in the state of Assam recently there were these elections to a tribal council known as the Bodoland Tribal Council. So, usme one of the original members of the NDA, which is so it's known as the BTC or the Bodoland Territorial Council, and it has 40 seats in total. So, one of the parties is the BPF or the Bodoland People's Front. They are an ally of the BJP in the state elections and also in the national election. They're a member of the NDA, but in this election they contested separately. They won 17 seats under the leadership of Mr. Pramod, under the leadership of Mr. Um, Hangrama Mohilari, who is confident of winning in case there is a, shall we say, floor test. His party almost came to majority but won 17 out of the 40 seats, so was unable to get the entire list. The BJP could provide them support. They have about a dozen seats. I'm not sure of the exact number. Another local party has a few. The Congress has only a single seat here. So one of the other newer parties, which is the BTR, they have their leader, Mr. Pramod Boro, is also confident of getting the support of the BJP and thus claiming uh, this particular seat. So that needs to be looked into. Right. The Congress party is also preparing for the upcoming local polls in Maharashtra, which they will be participating as part of the Maha Vikas Aghadi in combination with the NCP and the Shiva Sena. So 2021 will see the local elections, including the big one, India's richest municipality, which is the BMC or the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation. This will also see overall two couple of Zila Parishads, 13 municipal councils, and 83 municipal panchayat. This, of course, is the third level of the electoral process in India, just below the national election and the state elections. A Delhi Mumbai special Rajdhani will start from the 30th of December, which will reach the from the Hazrat Nizamuddin station in Delhi. Right. I'm now moving on to the editorial page, which of course is one which many of you do look into tightly. So one of the articles here is about vocal for local, and this talks about the local elections in Jammu and Kashmir, the DDC elections. So I'll talk about it in greater detail. Um, but this editorial does talk about the fact that the Congress and the Gupkar alliance, which is likely to have their leadership in 12 out of the 13 districts. So I'll talk a little bit more in detail on this a little while later. There's also an article on a murder in the convent. This is about the murder and likely rape of Sister Abhaya. So after 28 years that this case ran in, the perpetrators have been identified and um, they have been sent on a life imprisonment. Now, some of the bigger articles, if I may, today, one of them is about a free, fair, and safe election motto. This has been written by Mr. Gopal Krishna Gandhi, who's one of the scions of the father of this nation, Mahatma Gandhi, also a former candidate for the vice president's post, a UPA candidate. He's a former administrator, diplomat, and governor. So he speaks about the essence of democracy and what is the one which is really needed. Um, and then he speaks about the elements that matter. That there are three players in elections. One is the electors, which is the people who vote. The second is the candidates, and obviously the third is the election machinery, the overall process of ensuring an election is conducted free and fair. So it speaks about some of the forthcoming elections, such as in some very big states like West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Assam, and also the smaller Puducherry, and how that can be handled. He speaks about some of the links with the Constitution of India and what are the safeguards which are spoken of. And of course, this is not any extra goodwill. Elections should be seen as merely a duty which the government and the authorities need to ensure. And some of the steps that need to be taken, he has highlighted, which should make it free and fair. There's one very important article, and I want everyone to read this. This is on the Hindu. It's written by Mr. P.K. Anand, who's a visiting researcher at the Institute of Chinese Studies in Delhi. So he's actually really ideal in this sense because he has gone through the model in China, which I'll talk about shortly. He's also a non resident fellow under the China India Scholar Leaders Initiative, which is part of the India China Institute at the New School in the New York City. So he has spoken in light of the recent violence which erupted in the Wistron factory. Wistron, of course, is a parts maker of the Apple company. It's a Taiwanese company which had its manufacturing base in China, but recently shifted after the Chinese Taiwanese relations suffered. So they had shifted manufacturing to India, specifically to Karnataka, but near Bengaluru. But things are going bad. There was violence recently. There was some, so a total, the Wistron company says it suffered losses worth $437 million. So Apple has held off any more orders. They are not closing the plant as yet, but they have not yet sent. They have basically held, sort of रोक लिया गया है. अभी कुछ नए ऑर्डर्स नहीं आ रहे एप्पल की तरफ से. तो थोड़ा सा अगर हम बैकग्राउंड देखें, बहुत सारे लोग ये भी कह रहे हैं कि the labor relations were not very good, and the labor, while obviously nobody supports pillaging and sabotage, it is also true that they were working under really tough conditions. And why does that happen? So let us understand the case in China. In China, for long, it has been known for really pathetic conditions for the workers. Many of them are forced to work with overtimes, not much of, hardly any financial securities, and shall we say, so after all these, manufacturing started coming into China from the US and Europe, that there has been an unlimited supply of rural migrant labor at low wage levels. So Chinese economy did very well thanks to these things, but at a massive cost to the people. And a lot of this also happened after China joined the World Trade Organization in 2001, and thus becoming more mainstream in this. So for producing a lot of these smart devices of Apple and other companies at a very quick pace, so the workers have had to suffer a lot. Long tiring shifts without much breaks, constant disciplinary monitoring by the supervisors as well. So this has led to problems. And sometimes what happens is, in order to make up for labor shortage whenever there is, even students who are studying at vocational institutes, they are made to do forced internships or forced, yeah, internships basically, because they are not registered as workers. So even जो थोड़े बहुत benefits workers को मिलते थे, वो भी इनको मिलना बंद हो गया. Foxconn is actually one of the biggest producers of Apple parts, and Foxconn's name has been really tarnished in this field. In fact, there was a book which was released by a couple of writers earlier this year, known as Dying for an iPhone: Apple, Foxconn, and the Lives of China's Workers, written by Jenny Chan, Mark Selden, and Pun Angai. So this is something that people should probably look into about the Foxconn facilities. it was fairly common to see some workers often commit suicides. So as a result, what a lot of these parts manufacturers in China did was they erected tents nets right next to factories. So these net meshes or wire meshes right next to buildings has now become a common sight on Chinese factories. So that just shows the thing. So now what has happened is, with India already not being particularly renowned for having great labor welfare practices, on top of that, a Chinese model being followed meant that the Chinese experience was quickly getting replicated in India, and this does not augur well at all for either the state of Karnataka or India generally. So these are not the right optics for the world to view when it looks into indexes such as ease of doing business. This does not really attract a lot of investors going ahead. So Apple has provided a code of conduct to all its producers. This is something which is barely followed, and however, the writer feels that India will need to get this correct in order to, in the future, get better this thing better business traction. Anyway, so this was very important article, especially those who are going for all these management courses do need to read this. I can see somebody else has joined our session. Welcome, whoever that is. Do feel free to write in any comment which you would be having. I'll also check for my other channel, because there are two channels on which it is streaming right now. So मैं दूसरा भी देख लेता हूँ एक बार. Right. Moving ahead. Okay, so there is this article on what is called an anti-science lawsuit written by Mr. Rahul Siddharthan, who's with the Institute of Mathematical Sciences in Chennai. So he says that there was this recent file by Mr. Elsevier, the couple of scientific publishers such as Elsevier, Wiley, and the American Chemical Society. They filed a suit against Alexander Ebakan of Kazakhstan and others in the New Delhi High Court regarding something called the Sci Hub, which is in a way a pirate site which takes out research material from scientific papers. This does have merit, this lawsuit. This writer or myself, we are not going against that, but the only thing is that this actually ends up benefiting a lot of people. A lot of the information does get shall we say um, spread out to many other people who would want to see that. So this he's actually explained how scientific publishing actually works and the massive costs that are involved. So that means that many people who are not working at this, studying at these elite institutes, or maybe from countries which are not the most powerful in the world, not the richest ones, they tend to struggle in this sense. And there is a reason why all the Nobel Prize winners, especially in the sciences, tend to be only from a couple of developed countries. So he's actually spoken about a lot of these. He says that this is a beneficial site, although it is pirated, it ultimately benefits humankind. So this is not something that should be tampered so easily. A couple more articles, both of them on politics. So one of them is on the state which is gearing up for election this year, and West Bengal. I'm talking about a state much in the news, of course. West Bengal is going to see a titanic clash between the very popular local leader Mamata Banerjee versus the BJP, which is making notes. There's also a third front with the left front and the Congress, which could play a spoiler if nothing else. Although they could also do slightly better than that. So moving ahead, what has happened is so there was recently a couple of surveys which, okay, this article written by Mr. Sajjan Kumar, he's a political analyst and associated with the People's Plus and also with the IGPP in New Delhi. So he's speaking about a sort of a change which many people in the state desire, although it is not that overwhelming. He's speaking about some of the ground violence which has taken place in the state of West Bengal, and how during the 34 years of left rule from 1977 to 2011, a lot of the first local panchayat leaders, they tended to be from the academic community, but now a lot of them are from the business and local contractors. So that has led to much greater corruption in recent times. While earlier the corruption was always there, at least to some extent, but it would be spread out. Now all of it, a lot of it is centered around some political leaders. That is what he says. But he also speaks about the massive popularity that the chief minister enjoys, and so one of the ways in which they're cornering the BJP, which is the fact that the BJP may not have a very strong state electoral unit, and they don't have a strong chief ministerial face to take on Mamta Banerjee. So these are a couple of things that he's speaking out. He's also talking about a lot of the other castes, some of the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, who seem to have got the worst of a lot of local corruption and reign of violence. So that is something which will need to be looked into. So many of them could actually shift towards the BJP. They do not see the Congress or the left as viable alternatives to the Trinamool Congress, because they see the leadership is pretty old and they seem to be disorganized on the ground in comparison to the BJP. And the popularity of the Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi is also immense. So they are actually looking at the BJP also wants to make it a Modi versus Didi fight. So let's see how things work in the next couple of months. Right, moving ahead, let's also look at. In fact, one more thing I wanted to tell you before moving on to the next article is how the entire momentum has shifted to individuals rather than necessarily ideology. So, for example, Shubhendu Adhikari's hold over the Jungle Mahal and Purva Medinipur areas, the BJP's Mukul Roy, who was earlier with the Trinamool Congress, also with the Gorkha Janmukti Morchas, Bimal Gurung, him in Darjeeling, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, who was from the Congress, his hold over Behrampur, and the likes of Abbas Siddiqui or Asaduddin Owaisi among the Muslims in that area. These are a couple of things which are being debated on. Anyway, finally, moving ahead, I just spoke to you about Owaisi, and there is an article on Asaduddin Owaisi's party, which is the AIMIM, and the article says that there's no sole spokesperson for Muslims in India. The writer is Mr. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who teaches at the Jamia Millia Islamia. In New Delhi, he says that as much as Owaisi would like to show himself as a Jinnah, he is definitely not one. Nowhere close to that. There are some crucial differences. One of them being how Jinnah was extremely westernized and was not really very religious himself. Owaisi, on the other hand, wears religion on his sleeves. Another thing is about how Owaisi has at least verbally remained loyal to the Indian crown, to the Indian Union. Not something that Jinnah ever did. He was always on the. He used to talk about his community not being minorities but wanting a separate nation. Jinnah, however, never really, it seemed, catered much toward the lower caste Muslims or even among the Hindus. But Owaisi has constantly spoken about something of a unity with the Dalits, and he's spoken. In fact, Owaisi's party did have an alliance with the Vanchit Bahujan Aghadi, Prakash Ambedkar's party in Maharashtra. This is part of his outreach, for example. So these are a couple of things which have been discussed, and how he he does not really have traction. It's only limited pockets where he has some influence. Right, moving ahead, I'm done with the editorial. There's a night curfew which has been imposed in Karnataka. The RBI, meanwhile, has spoken about illegal digital lending apps and how one needs to be beware of these. A tigress in Karnataka's Mysuru district was mistakenly captured while it was a snare meant for a bear. Instead, a tigress got caught. So she was injured. She was rescued by the Chamundi Animal Rescue and Rehabilitation Center, which is in Kurgali, on the outskirts of Mysuru. But now she's set to be transferred to Mysuru, which of course is at the center of a very important forest area. The Nagarhole, Bandipur, Wayanad, all these forests are relatively nearby. A Malayalam filmmaker, Mr. Shanavas Shanavas Naranipuza has passed away at the age of 40, while another Malayalam poet activist, much older, she's 86, Miss Sugata Kumari, she passed away due to complications arising from COVID-19. The chief of the Shiromani Akali Dal, obviously former member of the NDA, Mr. Sukhbir Singh Badal, he has written a letter to Mamta Banerjee, the Chief Minister of West Bengal, urging for a united fight for these farm laws. Uh, in the state of Rajasthan, something interesting has taken place. One of Congress's allies in Rajasthan is the BTP, or Bharatiya Tribal Party, which has two MLAs in Rajasthan, also two MLAs in Gujarat. They had supported during the Sachin Pilot crisis, which took place, and also during the Rajya Sabha polls recently. But now the BTP has withdrawn support. They've written to the governor of the state. This is because there were recently some local elections in the district of Dungarpur, where the BTP emerged as the single largest party. They were expecting support of the Congress to clinch power in that district, in that area, but the Congress refrained from supporting the BTP candidate. Right. There's one very important thing which I wanted to talk to you about, which is the elections in Jammu and Kashmir. And this is the DDC, or the District Development Council, which has replaced the traditional panchayats. So this was the first electoral exercise in the former state of Jammu and Kashmir since the abrogation of Article 370. So there were three major groups which fought in it. One was the BJP, another was the Congress, which the Congress initially was a signatory of the Gupkar alliance, but eventually they contested the election separately. The third is the Gupkar alliance, which I told you, known as the PAGD, which is the People's Alliance for the Gupkar Declaration. Gupkar is the residence of the Abdullah family, one of the oldest, most powerful political families in the valley. So you have the Abdullahs. Who've had three generations of chief minister. Their party is a national conference. You also have the Muftis, their party is the PDP. These are the two biggest parties from the union territory. In fact, the PDP is the most strongly opposed to abrogation of Article 370. You also have some smaller parties such as the JKPC, or the People's Conference, which was a BJP ally during the last Lok Sabha elections, led by Mr. Sajjad Lone. You also have a couple of the communist parties in it. So overall, BJP emerged as the single largest party, and that has made the Union Law Minister Sri Ravi Shankar Prasad say that this proves that separatism and terrorism will not work in Jammu and Kashmir, and how faith in democracy has been restored. The BJP was the single largest party with 75 seats in total. 72 of them were in Jammu. Jammu has always been a stronghold of the BJP. Only three seats in Kashmir, but all three won in three different districts of Kashmir. Uh, so while the BJP did emerge as the single largest party, it must be noted that overall their tally is much lower than the overall Gupkar alliance, which includes a number of parties. So the Gupkar alliance ending on 110, out of which by far I think the Lions. Share has been taken by the National Conference, followed by the PDP, which has 27 seats. I believe the National Conference has over 60 seats. I'll need to check the exact figures, but I know the PDP has 27. The Left Front, the Communist Party of India, also has 5 seats. I think the JKPC has 8 as well. Uh, right, so that's pretty much how things worked. Congress won. So out the Gupkar alliance, they did win majority of its seats in Kashmir as expected, but they did win some in Jammu as well. So it was 84 in Kashmir, 26 in Jammu. The Congress won only 9 in Kashmir, 17 in Jammu. Independents did very well. 31 independents won in Kashmir, 19 in Jammu. A lot of the independents and also the Congress, they are expected to support the Gupkar alliance. So the Gupkar alliance is expected to form the mayorship, or whatever is the term being used, in 13 of the 14 districts. There are 14 districts, so 13 of them are expected to, with some support from the Congress and some independents, the Gupkar alliance should comfortably have their head in 13 of these 14 seats. Right. Moving ahead, the Hindu group. I'm reading the Hindu, and I must acknowledge the fact that they have won a couple of important awards now. They've won back four awards: two gold, two silver, under what is called the WAN IFRA prize. WAN IFRA. So they had a campaign called "Keep the Habit," which won the best native advertising or branded content campaign. Also won the best in audience engagement. Sports Star, which is the sports magazine under the Hindu, its website won the gold in best in lifestyle sports entertainment website or mobile services. Also, the website won a silver in best paid content strategy, which includes paywall, membership, or crowdfunding models. Couple of other channels such as the Malayala Manorama, which by the way also runs the Week magazine, the BBC News, Matrubhumi, another Malayalam newspaper, ABP, which runs the Telegraph newspaper, several TV channels, also the Business Standard business news newspaper. There's the NDTV Convergence, the TV18, and also the Quint, which is a digital channel. Quint, like the Print, Scroll, The Wire, Swarajya Mag, Op India. These are some of the well-known digital content providers. So the Quint did win this prize here. So this is a very छोटा सा piece of news, but थोड़ा सा मैं बात करना चाहूँगा उस पे. And so this article is about a girl being mauled to death by some lions in Gujarat near the Gir forest. Now, I understand a lot of animals are killed by humans every year. This is a rare case, and I do know that a lot of times humans take revenge. And please do not get me wrong, I am the ultimate nature lover. But the only thing I would like to say is that the Gir forest has now become overpopulated with lions. It's a good thing to have a large lion population, but you need greater territory as well if you have more of them. So either you know empty villages and put lions in there, which is not possible. uh, Also, it's not just about lions. You need a large prey population. You need deer, you need other animals that lions feed on. Otherwise they'll come to the villages anyway. So that is one thing. The other thing is, if there's ever an epidemic, any disease or something, because they're so closely inhabited, that could actually devastate the population all at one go. So there is this thing which a lot of experts have mentioned, and I would like to repeat this on this channel with you guys watching. Maybe some of these lions from Gujarat can be transferred to neighboring Madhya Pradesh or any other state, because you do need to reduce the risks, and that is something. It's a great conservation project that the Gir Forest and the Gujarat state has done, but in order to ensure that the conservation remains strong, maybe it can be. Diversified a bit the numbers. And, Gujarat is very proud to say we are the only state in the whole of Asia which anymore has wild lions. That's correct, but thoda sa bhi distribution chahiye. If MP gets lions, then MP can actually boast of being the only state in the world which has both lions and tigers in the wild. So the Kuno Palpur forest in northern area near Shivpur, that has generally been identified by Madhya Pradesh government to develop for lion habitation. They've also discussed that for bringing the cheetah from Iran. So imagine cheetah, lion, leopard, tiger, all four of them in the wild in MP. That would be amazing an advertisement. Right. Moving ahead, I told you about a cabinet meeting on these direct to home networks. Something similar, another important decision has been made on this. So the cabinet has also approved the merger of four film and media units as established by the Information and Broadcasting Ministry. So one of them is the Films Division, another is the Directorate of Film Festivals, the third is the National Film Archives of India, and the fourth one is the autonomous body, which is the Children's Film Society. All of these are to be merged with the NFDC, or the National Film Development Corporation. So different timelines have been provided. ये कब कौन सा start हुआ उसके बारे में. The Indian Army has experimented with a surface to air missile known as MRSAM, or the Medium Range Surface Air Missile. developed by the DRDO, Directorate of Defense Research and Development Organization, which took some advice from the IAI, which is the Israel Aircraft Industries. So this was actually conducted in of Chandipur in Odisha. इसमें क्या रहता है, surface to air का मतलब है surface से, this is mainly to attack planes. These are known as, also known as anti-aircraft missiles, because they are shaped like this and they move in to kill aircrafts. The state of West Bengal has confirmed that the class 10 and class 12 exams will now be held in June, not in March. The state exams, they can't do much about CBSE due to the various elections that will be held, and also due to the various distancing norms which are being discussed, because with this new discussion on the new strain from the UK, so the vaccination might also take a bit longer now. So the Education Minister, Sri Partho Chatterjee, has confirmed the same. There are some feature stories on by some animal lovers on some calendars being created for the next year, which is going to include puppies, and other dogs as well, on various pages. Different dogs they will be put up on. There's also an article on cooking turkey. Turkey is obviously one of the favorite meals prepared worldwide during Christmas. So there's a chef. Her name is Usha Matthew. She's from Kerala. She spoke written about Kerala style turkey. Turkey, obviously not native to Kerala or anywhere in India, but now a lot of things are taking place. It's a large bird. It's bigger than a chicken. Usually, it's more popular for Thanksgiving in the US, but also for Christmas in many countries. Does very well during the winters. There's also an article on some um, exercising, which is done by a lot of older people, and how age is just a number. In fact, most scientists have written about how this so-called new strain is not going to affect the efficacy of the vaccines. The vaccines which have been approved will be good enough to take care even of the new mutations. The UK has also identified two new virus variants from South Africa. That's another point in it. UK and France, meanwhile, have reopened cross-channel travel. So there's something called an English channel. So if you look at the location between the UK and France, मैं थोड़ा सा आपको maps में दिखा देता हूँ. I think that will be easier for you guys. So there is an English channel which separates mainland Europe from Great Britain. So English channel बहुत डीप नहीं है और बहुत लंबा भी नहीं है. तो below the seabed, a tunnel was created which allows for trains to pass through between mainland Europe and the UK. तो मैं वो थोड़ा सा आप लोगों को दिखा देता हूँ, because that will make life easier. So यहाँ मैं डालता हूँ पेरिस इन फ्रांस, एंड डायरेक्शंस देता हूँ मैं फ्रॉम लंदन. ठीक है, आई जस्ट कंटिन्यू. ओके, चलिए इसको मैं दिखा देता हूँ. चलिए, डायरेक्शंस फ्रॉम लंदन. ठीक है, राइट. तो ये आपको दिखेगा, पानी है. दिस इज सिटी कॉल्ड कलाई, CALAIS. उसके पास दिस डंकर्क, द सीन ऑफ द फेमस siege of Dunkirk during the Second World War. यूके के वहाँ पे कुछ पोर्ट सिटीज है लाइक डोवर. वहाँ से you can have these trains and I think cars as well which go below the seabed. It's amazing and innovation which was done. So this has now been restarted. इसको बीच में close किया गया था due to this threat from the virus mutant, but now it's been restarted. ठीक है guys, please let the questions keep coming in. Keep them pouring in. Okay, Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, seems confident to have good ties with Joe Biden, the president-elect of USA. Okay, moving on to the business page before I get into the sports page. Right. There's this worrying report which says that the retail credit is seeing a rise in defaults. Defaults as in not paying up. This has risen from 0.51% in credit card segment 2 to 2.32%. Sorry, it's 0.51% increase from last year, moving to 2.32%, while loans against property rose by 0.34%. It's now 3.96%, as confirmed by TransUnion Sibil, which is a key credit rating agency within India. The Amazon versus Future case is dragging on. Future Group of Kishore Biani acquired by the Reliance Industries Limited, but Amazon claims that they had an agreement with the Future Group for asset transfer. So ये काफी time से चल रहा है. So the Future Group believes that Amazon's bid to control Future is actually violates the FEMA, or the Foreign Exchange Management Act, which governs the foreign direct investments in India. Housing sales have actually gone up by 51% in the October to December quarter. This is massive. Although total for the year 2020 it will fall by 48%. This is because of the earlier months, but the final quarter is seeing a massive rise. As per data by JLL, or Jones Lang LaSalle, which is a top real estate consulting firm. Meanwhile, if you look at the October numbers, Bharti Airtel has actually done better than Jio in terms of adding new users. Airtel has added 3.67 million new users compared to the 2.22 million added by Jio. Right. So on the other, uh, operators like Vodafone Idea, also BSNL, MTNL, and Reliance Communication, all of them reported a loss of the subscriber base. Reliance Communication, or RCOM, was an existing company of Anil Ambani. That's part of the ADAG, Anil Dhirubhai Ambani group, but that's of course not doing anywhere as well as the Geo. Right, just so that people are not confused. Couple more things I need to read out on the business page. But first of all, I just need to connect the laptop charger. It did give me good service for a while, but abhi mujhe charger lagana padega. Just give me a moment, please, all of you. Meanwhile, keep the questions coming in. I will be happy to answer them. Right. Okay. I'm back here for the class. Right. Okay. Meanwhile, PE, which is private equity, its investment in realty sector, real estate sector, will bounce back to $6 billion. This has also been confirmed by another report, which says beyond the 20 private equity in the Indian real estate. So all these, this has been provided by Savills India, another global property consultancy firm, just like JLL. So a lot of these news stories, they do give us some positivity about the economy, of course. Right. Some couple of bit pieces news. The SR projects, they won a new $62 million project in the country called Papua New Guinea. In fact, I had showed you Papua New Guinea, I think, in yesterday's class itself. It's a pretty large country, but not very populated. It's just north of Australia. In fact, there's an island called New Guinea, which is shared between Irian Jaya and Papua New Guinea. Irian Jaya is on the western side, which is part of Indonesia, and the eastern side is an independent country of Papua New Guinea, home to thousands of different tribes in the country. Right. So Bharat Forge, meanwhile, its German arm has reached an agreement with regarding some of the local issues. Air passenger traffic has increased by 22% as per ICRA, which is an Indian subsidiary of the Moody's. This is in comparison to a month back. While Karnataka, this is something important. The state of Karnataka has unveiled a new portal which is specifically for farmers' requirements. It's called Fruits, and that's because it's called Farmer Registration and Unified Beneficiary Information System, known as Fruits. The initial it will be run initially by the Kannada Bank. That's the government PSU which will do the initial running of the same. Right. I'm done with the business page. Moving into the sports pages. Mm, the first test match was actually a pink ball test match because it was day and night, but now we are back to red ball cricket. The Boxing Day test match beginning on 26th December will, of course, be a day game as usual. So, India has once again started focus on that. Um, but Australia is going to miss two important players. One is the opener, David Warner. The other is the fast bowler, Sean Abbott. Both have been, due to some injuries, they'll not be able to play in the next game. Today, in fact, the BCCI is expected to meet. They have the AGM or annual general meeting regarding some issues such as the presidency of the body. Bishan Singh Bedi, who is obviously a legendary Indian left arm spinner and captain of the team back in his day in the 60s and 70s, he wants his name to be removed from one of the stands on the Firoz Shah Kotla Stadium in Delhi, which is set to be renamed as the Arun Jaitley Stadium. I think it has already been renamed. He feels that the stadium should have been named after a cricketer and not a political figure, just like Shane Warne's name is there. Shane Warne, Don Bradman, W.G. Grace, um, Sir Vivian Richards, their names adorned several stadiums like W.G. Grace at Lord's, Sir Jack Hobbs at the Oval, Sir Donald Bradman at the Sydney Cricket Ground, Sir Garfield Sobers at Barbados, and Shane Warne at the MCG, Melbourne Cricket Ground. That's how to be. It should have been his case as well. That's what he feels. Right, in the ISL is now hotting up. A lot of matches have already been played. A lot of teams have played between 6 to 8 matches. East Bengal, shockingly, is at the bottom of the 11 team table. There's a 2 day break now. Mumbai City is right on top, same points as ATK Mohan Bagan, although with a slight better goal difference. So that's how they are on top. Um, Yeah, finally, as usual, I'm going to round up the day with some news from the world of European football. A roundup of the scores. Last night saw the semi-finals of the League Cup, which is the second cup tournament in England. England, like France, has two domestic cups. The FA Cup and the League Cup. So, the League Cup quarterfinals were held the last 2 nights. Tottenham Hotspurs won their game against lower division side Stoke City, who were in the Premier League till 2.5 years back. And in a lucky draw, they are going to meet. So Spurs have been pretty lucky in their journey so far. They first match of theirs against Leyton Orient, fourth division side, that was called off due to COVID-19. Some of the players in Leyton Orient tested positive. The next game they won against Chelsea. I think it was they won on penalties. That was a good victory. Then they drew up against Stoke City, which is not a weak side, but ultimately it's a second division side. And even in the semis, they will be facing a lower division side, Brentford City this year. Brentford. They are also from the same city of London, and Brentford was almost promoted last season. They were among the best teams to watch in the Championship, which is the second tier of English football. Besides Leeds, they were among the best teams, but right at the end, they goofed up and they did not finish in the top two. The top two teams qualify, and then they took part in the playoffs, and again they goofed up, losing the playoff final to Fulham, fellow London club. So Fulham and West Brom, two teams most felt were undeserving in comparison to Brentford, a very well-run club. But the problem of being well-run is that if you don't get promoted, you tend to lose a lot of your players. So they've actually lost a few of their big players this summer, like Ollie Watkins and Said Behrama. Maybe soon Christian Norgard as well, but they've got good players as well. They bought Ivan Tony. So Spurs going to play Brentford in the first semi-final. The other semi-final will be between the two Manchester Giants, United and City. United defeated Everton, and City defeated Arsenal in the quarterfinals. Our City actually won 4-1 against Arsenal. So that should be a cracker of a game. This year, the semi-finals will all be single-legged, unlike the last several years where the semi-finals of the League Cup was double-legged. So that's not going to be the case this year. They've reduced the matches due to the COVID-19 and the fixture congestion worries. So that was from the Cups. Let me tell you some of the league results. Spain and Italy were two countries that had some league matches. And in Spain, a record has been created by Lionel Messi in the 3-0 victory over Real Valladolid. He now has, this was his 644th goal, which means that he now has more goals for Barcelona than the great Pele had for FC Santos. So this is the maximum number of goals by a player for one tournament, for one club. So Pele had 643 goals for Santos, the Brazilian club. So Real Valladolid losing 3-0 to Barcelona. Messi scoring the third goal. The first one was scored by the French centre-back Clement Lenglet. And in between, the Danish striker Patrick Braithwaite also scored, added a goal. Meanwhile, Real Sociedad, who've been the surprise package in the last couple of years, doing a very well-run club, they lost 2-0 to Giants Atletico Madrid, for whom Diego Llorente and Hermoso scoring the two goals. Valencia losing 1-0 at home to CF Sevilla, for whom the Spanish playmaker Suso, formerly of AC Milan, he was the only sole goal scorer. In Italy, Crotone defeated Parma 2-1. Juventus lost for the first time this season, losing 3-0 to CF Fiorentina. Fiorentina is the club that Franck Ribéry, the French legend, plays for. He joined them after leaving Bayern Munich. He was not among the goal scorers though. Martin Caceres scored one of the goals, the Uruguayan fullback. The Brazilian fullback Alexandro scored an own goal for Juventus, and there was also another goal by Vlahovic. So Fiorentina from the city of Florence winning 3-0 against the Giants Juventus. Right, so that is pretty much it for my newspaper round today. I'm going to keep the session open for a couple of minutes in case you guys have any questions you may discuss. Yeah, so I'll keep it open for a couple of minutes. This is my code AD09. You know the drill. Do like my session. Many of you have already shown your love. Do share with your friends, whoever requires help in GK. And of course, do subscribe to the sessions as well. I have a session on unacademy.com on Saturday. So do subscribe to me there so you can check my sessions then as well. So do keep your doubts coming in. Once you're done with that, I'm going to wrap up the session. Right. I think we can now wrap up. Can't see any more of the questions. So wonderful interacting with all of you guys. See you all very soon. Thank you so much. And do join for those batches. मैंने आपको कुछ batches के details दिए थे आज.